You're listening to the IMT Show with Mike Sims. Now here is your host.
It's one of the things that authors that go through, especially for me, is that you get discouraged pretty easily, and it's a very difficult industry to be in. Like, I guess, like acting, there's only a handful that really make a lot of money in it, and some make a living, and most, you know, they just make something here once in a while. Those that have made a lot of money in it, like James Patterson, which is extraordinarily wealthy, J.K. Rowling, and so forth. These are the lottery winners, the ones that hit upon had a great stories and hit and a hit and became and got a good following. Uh, I guess the one advantage is that with writers is that you can is as successful as like James Patterson is, he can walk around a mall and chances are nobody would recognize him, as opposed to a famed movie star walks around the mall, they can't get away from anybody. So there's certain advantages to it, to writing, but it's if you're in it for the money, it's a very difficult road. There basically is about 1.7 million books in English published every year, uh, to over a million authors. Books are published all the time, especially now that self-publishing is so easy. There are people out there with 20 and 30 books under their belt in no time. It's it's a very competitive industry. You're a drop in the ocean. So how do you get yourself noticed? And well, you have to get known. You have to uh, an author sells the book as much as the book itself. There are plenty of great stories out there. It's it takes marketing, whether your story is great or not. It I oftentimes when somebody finds out I'm an author, I'll ask them who their favorite writer is, and they'll say oftentimes they'll say it's Stephen King, and so I I usually hear after that I have to have every one of his books. I haven't read all of them, but I have to have them. Every time he comes up with one, I have to get it, and that's because he sold himself as much as the books. And you look at the marketing of it, you'll see, go into bookstores or whatever, you see Stephen King book, you'll see King in big letters at the top of the book, and then the title underneath it. And when the book, of course, the title is always known to be the biggest part of the written part of the cover of the book, but it depends on what people are really buying. Are they buying the book or are they buying the author? So that tells you a lot.
Vicky is an executive who is smart, creative, and lethal. Life events may have shaped her, but she will shape many others as she dispenses her brand of justice.
And I've met some best-selling authors, and there's a lot of resource out there. There's a blog by an expert by the name of Jane Friedman, which I highly recommend if you're going to write or you're already written and you want to know more. She's definitely a good source to read. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot to marketing and making yourself different and noticed among readers, because you're competing with 5% readership in the English books, and that's and that may not sound like a lot, but there's a lot that's a lot of readers. It really is. So you need to put your books in different formats: paperback, hardcover, audiobooks, ebooks. Make it available. That gives you a bigger net. But you have to find ways to reach people and get them to read your story. And they will, if they like you, they'll like your story. It's a big part of it. So, and and that's one of the things I hope this podcast does, is that it helps reach people, and that they realize who I am and what I've written, and they go and they read the books or listen to the audiobooks, because it truly is, when somebody tells me I read your book, or whether they like it or not, the fact that they read my book, even if they hated it, it's that they took time, invested themselves into something I wrote. That's that's another humbling experience for me. It really is. I appreciate it. Even if you didn't like it and you criticized it, that's fine. It's not for everybody, but I appreciate everybody that did. Whether you liked it or not, I appreciate it. I really do. And I hope that that more people will read them, and especially as the Vicky series progresses on and closes out, and I'll move into more standalone books. I have some interesting books to come out with, and some more series. And I even have plans for a spinoff series of the Vicky series. So, but the problem with when you're writing is that it's easy to get discouraged in this business, because you're excited when you write your first book. You just know it's going to explode out there, and you go and buy 500 copies, and you're going to go do book signings everywhere, and then nothing, very little. Most of the books you sell are to family and friends, and you're like, what's happened here? And the reality is that you're going to have to do a lot of marketing. It's not all of us are lottery winners and get the golden ticket and boom, it just takes off like 50 Shades of Grey, 150 million copies worldwide. It just how often does it happen? It's very rare. So you gotta get it out there. You gotta find ways to market it, and like I say, there's a growing and tremendous amount of interest in my books to be published, to be made into a TV series, and so that's if that happens, that's going to be another avenue to get more known, for sure. But I'm just thrilled anytime anybody reads them. I really am. I decided to do this podcast. Actually, I'd done podcasts in the past on publishing and books and so forth. But what really lit a fire under me to do a regular podcast like this, I do it formally as a show. Ashley was the executive producer for the Howard Stern shows, had reached out to me about my books and was curious about them. And so we talked on the phone for over an hour and had a great conversation. And he asked me, why are you not podcasting? And I said, well, I'm trying to get my books into a TV series and trying to write more books. And he says, yeah, but you really need to be podcasting because you're an interesting person. And I think people would love to hear your story. I know I've enjoyed it, and I'll help you out if and if you if you need some advice and all that, and so it really lit a fire under me that if somebody his caliber thinks I need to do this, and I've always had a kind of a gut feeling that maybe I should, then I should. And so I'm very thankful to him for taking the time, and hopefully I'll get to interview him someday, because he is a fascinating guy, and I really enjoyed our conversation. So I'm deeply grateful to him. So this, but we're gonna make this this show is it's monologued right now, and I know that's not the most exciting thing in the world, but hopefully we'll get guest host, and we'll definitely get more interviews. I've got some shout outs from celebrities that I'll be playing on here, and among other things, it's it's a progress. So stick with us, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, because the more subscribers I get, the more abilities and things I can do with it, and that's, and we'll see where this thing goes. As my wife Melinda had mentioned, that I'd been married before, and I was married for 7 years. And it was my childhood sweetheart at the time, and we were very, very young, and when you're talking, 19 and 20, around that era. It was we dated for quite a while. Yeah, she lived in one town, I lived in another, and so we didn't see each other very often. But it was, but we knew each other from our childhood, and it ended up there was difficulties. There always is, because she was disabled and had and took a lot of medication for a illness that she had, and each of these medications had a side effect of personality change and violence. And so at first it was it wasn't that bad, but progressed. It progressed on to a very violent relationship, and even I had a tremendous amount of support at first with her family, and because it's not easy to deal with somebody like that, and when you're young and you feel you're invincible, and of course, when at the time I was not out of shape as I am now. I was had a lot of martial arts behind me, and I was very, very strong and very in shape. But it wears on you. It really does, and it's extremely stressful, and the stress took a great toll on me. It was I'm not perfect either by any stretch of the imagination, but but eventually that kind of relationship disintegrated greatly over the 7-year period, and ended up into a very bad situation for everybody, and a lot of bad situations happen for everybody. I get into into it more later, but there's no evil people in any of it. It's just it's like I said in my in one of my books, is that sometimes bad situations make good people seem bad, and there were certainly some people that had done some horrible things to me, and in that situation, and some of it very traumatic, but I survived it. In the end, of it. It was, I ended up divorced and homeless, living in my car in a rest area in Georgetown, Texas, and for months, and feeling like this is that the car I owed on was going to be repossessed, and then I was going to be living under a bridge and then die. It was an extremely tough series of events that led to that moment in that time. I'll get into more detail about it later, but it was a very difficult time. And even then, during those times, I wanted to write a book, and I wanted to, because I was actually teaching classes at the University of Texas, leisure learning classes on creation versus evolution science. Because like I say, I like studying and analyzing things, everything, all sides of the points of views. And I got the feeling that there was that both sides of the fence had strong arguments, and that they both can't have facts and be against each other. That maybe they're not understanding the facts. Both sides are not understanding the facts correctly. And I tried to complement those points of views to make sense. And when you do that kind of thing, you end up, of course, being attacked by both sides. But that's okay. And when I advertised the class, I didn't expect anybody to show up. Nobody's going to care. This is a ridiculous theorem of mine. But over 40 people showed up the first time, and they kept showing up. And there was a lot of people there that were grad students and scientists. And they were there to educate me and overwhelm me. But in the end, they left. We had a lot of respect, and some of them said that they didn't agree with me, but they had a lot of food for thought, and that meant a lot to me. And I got to thinking that maybe if there are that many people looking for answers or looking for an answer, I didn't think that I had the answers, but I could lead to the answers.
Hey, what's going on? It's Chris Browning. You may know me from such shows as Westworld or the new season of Bosch, or Bright with Will Smith over on Netflix. And there was a great movie called Book of Eli where I shared the screen with Denzel Washington. In that movie, oh wait, this isn't about me. This is about Mike Sims, and congratulations on getting your book character, Vicky, who I guess is this power woman who deals with life's injustices and a strong female character. Good idea. They're rare, but you're getting developed into a TV series. That's awesome. I'm trying to do that. I've gotten nowhere. I mean, not with your Vicky character, but with characters of my own that I used my brain for, and I'm getting nowhere, man. So if you got this thing in development, getting some traction on a TV project, you are in the top 0.001%, and congratulations.
Thank you for listening to the IMT show with Mike Sims. The views expressed by guests are their own and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The IMT show is an opinion show and not to be taken as serious personal, legal, tax or financial advice. It is meant as entertainment only. IMT show, Mazarov or Mike Sims is not responsible for ad content. For more information on show schedules and content visit www.mazarov.net/IMT.